video was meant to be part of the previous video, but as you know from the previous video, I cut it into halves to make the videos shorter. So the last one was about the honeymoon period. This one is all about carbohydrates. First, why carbohydrates? In another video, I'm going to be talking about all the nutrients that would affect your blood sugar levels, but why specifically carbohydrates here? Insulin does cause the absorption of other nutrients as well, in case you don't know. So it's not just glucose in the bloodstream. But carbohydrates, which is glucose, is what inhibits the insulin. If you have glucose and you're a non-diabetic, that is what allows your pancreas to produce insulin in the bloodstream. And also, when you want to inject insulin, you always inject according to the amount of carbs that you ate, not to the amount of fats, not to the amount of protein, even though sometimes fats and protein do have an effect to your blood sugar levels. When you consume these kind of foods, they get broken down in the body to glucose, which is the simplest form of sugar. Some examples of carbohydrates: pasta, bread, potatoes, sweet potatoes, sugar, sugary drinks, juice, fruits, a lot of different types. Some are what called healthy and some are what called unhealthy. Some are fast digested, that's the word, and some are slowly digested. I am not going to be going through a lot of science with the carbohydrates. If you do want to know more about it, I've got an article that I wrote already on Diabetes Sports Academy. You can check it out. I'm just going to make this quick and short for you as a parent to be able to manage and understand what carbohydrates are to aid your kids in the blood sugar control. Because obviously, the more carbohydrates you eat, the more insulin you need, and so on. So as a parent, what do you need to know in terms of carbohydrates? First of all, you need to know what are the carbohydrates food out there. So I did mention them, but here is a list of a lot of carbohydrate foods out there. You can always Google them. Why do you need to know this? Because as I said at the start, that this is what inhibits, this is what makes you need to inject insulin, whether it's for yourself or to your kid. So if you don't know what's in your plate, it's going to be very hard for you to decide how much insulin units do you want. And that's why it's very important to know your insulin to carb ratio, which means how much insulin you need to inject per that specific quantity of carbs. And normally, the way to measure it is like per 10 grams of carbs. So for me, it's like 2 to 10. I need 2 units of insulin for 10 grams of carbs, 1 unit for 5 grams of carbs, and so on. I will have a full video just about this, so don't stress about it now, but it's something that you must know, along with how much carbs are on your plate or your kid's plate. Apart from the quantity of the carbs, what else do you need to know? You need to know the speed of absorption of the carb. So as I mentioned, some are fast, some are slow. They are split into 2 groups: simple carbs and complex carbs. Simple carbs are the fast-acting ones, and it's measured with something called the Glycemic Index. Again, I don't need to go into science, but Glycemic Index is like the measurement of how fast the carbs are digested or absorbed. Okay, so examples of the fast ones are sugar, candy, jam, honey, anything that you would use to treat a hypo. Complex is oats, pasta, brown bread, sweet potatoes, banana. Fruits are in between both. You get complex, you get simple. Why, as a parent, do you need to know this? Because, put a scenario right now. Your kid just had a meal, okay? And let's just hypothetically say that it contains complex carbs, okay? So it contains a banana and some oats, for example. and you injected what you think the right amount of insulin. However, your kid is going hypo, and then once you treated the hypo, he's going hyper. Why is that? Because the time it took the oats and the bananas or whatever complex carb you can think of to get digested in the body, the insulin that you gave has already peaked. Okay, so if I have the board behind me, I would have drawn this. Let me get a board. 1 second. Here we go. I got a board. All right. Can you see this? Yeah. So, is that visible? Right. So here is the time. Okay. And in another color, light blue, let's say carbohydrates. I'll just say carb. Okay. So can you see that? So if we say that you had a complex carbs, regardless of what it is, okay, the way it's gonna be digested or absorbed in the system is gonna look something like that. Up, and then it's almost linear. Why? Because it's digested so slow, it provides the body with constant amounts of energy. You get that? Now, another color, red. Oops. If we say this is insulin, so you're injecting insulin. Insulin, normally, not a specific type, stays in the body for 4 hours. And then it peaks depending on the type of insulin, sometimes half an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, sometimes less, sometimes more. But talking generally, if you take a bit of insulin, probably that's what's going to happen. You see that? What happened here? Here, you gave your kid the insulin, okay? And then the insulin peaks. So short-acting insulin, as I said, it doesn't go in and stay and affect the body the same way. It peaks and then it drops again, okay? It's not like the long-acting insulin, okay? So here, the insulin peaked at the top. There is a risk that your kid can get a hypo, okay? And then, if it happens, if they do get a hypo, what you're gonna do, you're gonna treat that hypo. So you're gonna actually push in more carbs, okay? But it's gonna be fast-acting carbs. So you're gonna have, well, let's say the time is gonna start here. So you're gonna have more carbs right here to cover this, all right? Then what happens here? So it's not just that you've got this blue line of the oats or the complex carbs that you had, you also got an extra simple sugar carbs here. So here, there is a risk that you're gonna go hyperglycemic. Do you get where I'm coming from? Oops. So what I'm saying is, why is the speed of carbs, if you have a simple sugar, as opposed, maybe, different color, if you have a very fast acting sugar, maybe that's what's gonna happen. You see that? So you've got simple here, this is simple, and that's an R for some reason, I don't know why. Here, this is complex, and the red one is insulin. So if you have simple sugar, simple carbs, very fast acting, you could have it the other way around. You could go hyperglycemic and then hypoglycemic. The reason I'm showing you this is for you to understand how your body works and how your kid's body works, how the insulin affects your kid, how does he react or she reacts to it. This doesn't happen all the time, just to let you know. But what you can do, this is a test. If you had the oats or the banana or the complex carbs and you felt that your kid is going hypo and then hyper, and I just realized that you can't read anything I'm writing because it's the other way around. Okay, right, if we go hypo and hyper, it means that you have to treat this in a way by injecting the insulin a bit late. To get where I'm coming from. So injecting the insulin, the timing of it is down to you. Sometimes you would need it way before the food, sometimes you would need it during the food, sometimes you would need it after the food. So if your kid is going a hypo and then hyper, so you move the injection time forward, okay? If they're going hyper and then hypo, you go backwards, you inject way before the food, okay? What affects this? The type of carbs and the other nutrients within that meal. So if you're having a fatty meal, you're gonna get affected by something similar. You're either gonna have the hyper kind of phenomenon, or you're gonna have insulin resistance. Fat causes insulin resistance, so you're gonna have a hypo, and again, it's very subjective. I'm gonna do a video about insulin resistance by itself as well. But for now, I hope this is clear why I'm saying the speed of carbs is important, the speed of your insulin is important, and the timing of injecting is very important for your kid. I hope this helps. I think this is enough for episode 2. I thought we can add in some extras, but carbohydrates, took a lot of time. So these are the topics that we're going to be covering hopefully next time. And I hope today was helpful. Take care.